Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're going to keep this really just kind of open and laid back and stuff, and that's why we got some marbles playing in the background instead of kind of doing this official conference announcement thing. So this is an opportunity for us, the executive team on Fun, to just kind of talk about very openly some of the future of what's going on with Fun, what's working well, what's not working well, that sort of thing. And the preface a little bit, Mike, Justin, Christine, myself, and I, who are on this as well too. We didn't really go over too much ahead of time for this. It was more we just wanted to have a very open conversation with everybody, and just kind of go through that way. And like I said, just talk about where some of our thoughts are and where we're moving to the future. A lot has changed in Fun, and a lot hasn't. I think a lot of our ethos and fundamentals have stayed the same, but as we start to grow, both in viewership and as a trying to become an actual bona fide company that actually has things like budgets and that sort of thing like that, it's has caused us to modify a few things, and of course with coronavirus and the season shutting down, things have changed for us. Typically, April is one of our biggest months. It's not our biggest month of the year, and it's probably going to be like our sixth biggest month of the year and stuff. And so just, lots to talk about with things, new shows that are coming, shows that we might be modifying a bit, that sort of thing as well. But as mentioned, we're going to have Marbles on stream in the background. We're not really going to be doing much commentary on it, but I figured it would be just kind of a nice thing to do instead of just once again just having us talking. So I'm just gonna randomize 5 maps and just start a Grand Prix in the background, and we'll just be playing that way. If you have anything you'd like to comment or questions or anything like that, if you don't mind, just tag out First Updates now, just so it pings for me so I can see that. I would appreciate it. Otherwise, if you want to hop on and ask a question live through audio, you can join the call-in channel queue in our Discord. And that's an opportunity as well, too. And Mike, Justin, Christine, and everybody else, remember, !play, just so you can get a marble on the track, because why not? Once again, not going to be paying too much attention to the camera and stuff like that. But if you want to get a marble on the track and just enjoy that, you can go ahead and do that with !play. And we're just going to keep running these. Should get some new marbles at some point. I looked up the skins, but they're kind of expensive. Like they're like. Our marble skin is like, if you were to get, because you get to buy the marble, the slot for it, and then the skin for it, and that's probably like $5 or something like that. But
Ooh.
but they only charge the streamers, so I kind of get it. Like it doesn't cost anything for the viewers to do anything like that. So yeah, I don't know, and we're going to go off on a lot of tangents here, guys. By the way, so as we go through lots of things like that. And I'll encourage Mike, Justin, and Christine as well. I do tend to get very long-winded and stuff, so please feel free to interrupt me and tell me to shut up. That's totally fine in case I do. So, but like I said, chat, we're really reliant on you. If you have something you wanna hear talk about, there is no order or anything like that. Yeah, it does cost money. There's no order or anything like that. So if you have something, we'll just kind of address it as is. We're not going to wait on it or anything unless it's something we're doing next for that. But yeah, Dead Boy, the marbles cost the streamer money. Is kind of the way it works. So like the subscriber ones that we have there, those we purchased a long time ago. It's an interesting business model, and for those who might know, I did meet the creator of this at TwitchCon this past year, twice actually, except one was at a really loud party and we couldn't hear anything. I'm like, all right, I'll see you later. But yeah, super cool dude, by the way, as it goes through. So I'm just going to try to toggle so I'm on a first place here, and then we'll kind of jump into a few things. There we go. Well, let's do that. Well, unless you're Digiworm and he died right away. Thanks a lot, Digiworm. Appreciate that. All right. So a couple things to mention is that last week we met with the showrunners and maybe talk about a little bit kind of the structure of Fun, if you want to call it that. I mean, it's the way that the kind of my philosophy on things is what we do takes a lot of work for stuff, and what we do is really about passion for things, and what we do is really it's a group of people who are passionate, who come together for stuff. So I'm not really a big fan of like saying like, oh, this person's in this role, that means they're the boss and that sort of thing. I'm a big fan of giving credit to the people who put in the work and the effort for things, and that those people have more say in my book than others. So sometimes that's a host, sometimes that's a contributor, sometimes that's just a viewer or a fan for things. And the people who, are truly the ones putting the passion for stuff, that are truly making it happen, that's who I will tend to give more credit to on things. You'll notice, on Fun, I'm not on air all the time for things, or, I'm doing stuff as a producer in the background for things, because I don't really just want to make it all about me. I don't want to make it just a Tyler show or just even the four of us that are on here right now. This is why we have so much more content for things. And not to mention, for Mike and Justin specifically, who, before Fun even started, we're doing everything all in one show. Like, it's exhausting, right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and the average viewer is not always very forgiving about that exhaustion. They expect perfection and expect professionalism, and it's like, hey, we're just doing the best we can, really.
Yeah.
But that part's gotten a lot better. We used to get a lot of hate mail.
Now I just get it now.
All right.
No, actually we don't, and that's good and bad, actually, right? Because like it's we want to hear improvements and feedback and that sort of thing, but constructively as well too. There's still people out there that are, and by the way, this might get occasionally PG-13 or beyond, but are just people I've never met before who are just like F Tyler Rhodes or F Fun or stuff like that. I'm like, I don't even know what hey Justin, you won.
Let's go.
Like, I don't even know what your problem is. I haven't even met you before, man. Like,
Yeah.
But I think what we learned is just, as we start getting larger, it's the law of large numbers, right? It's that there's, the 98% of people who like us, 1% that this kind of goes back and forth. This is just random numbers. And there's, more importantly, there's the 1% who tends to be very loud. And because, I don't know, they need to be heard, they want to be heard or something like that. Exclamation join if you want to play in this next marble match. And it's easy to get fixated on those. And I've done it before. I know I have. And I'm sure everybody can attest to that being the case in the background occasionally. But you really got to kind of put that aside sometimes and look at the people who are providing constructive feedback for things. And that's what's really appreciated.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for every one, there's lots that don't say anything. So,
yeah.
And that we easily forget about. Well, sometimes it's hard to forget. We easily forget about that, though, once you interact with the others you just have great conversations with.
Yeah. Usually a good stream is what helps me forget. Like this weekend when we did the FLL thing, I was pretty pessimistic going in for stuff because it's, we had all these connections coming from all these places, and then we had 5,000 people watch each day. That puts me in better spirits, I'll tell you. So it's kind of like being on a robotics team. Like when you win a regional, it feels a bit better, right? So
yeah.
Do you just want to grab a question that I saw in chat and hopefully. Exalted One saying, what have the effects been to the cancellation to the entirety of Fun? So, I think the answer to that there's a couple things. One, we run in the black all the time financially because we don't really have, we don't have employees and that sort of thing. Everybody is just dedicating their time for the most part. We do provide small stipends to the showrunners for things, for organization, but it's more of a thank you than anything else. So, financially, if we're going to start from that route, not a whole lot has changed. I think our potential to get new sponsors might be a bit modified as we're starting to look to go that route a bit more. And viewership obviously is down right now too. Now, the good news is that January and even February, which February is usually not that big of a month for us, were humongous. RA3D was nuts this year. And then just content coming off after that was fantastic. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but guys, I think last year on YouTube, I think for the year we did like 1 million views or something like that. In the first 3 months, we had 700,000 views just on YouTube.
Yeah, I just looked at Social Blade actually yesterday. We're at like 1.8 million already.
Yeah.
This year.
So
do you have the date of when we hit 1 million on YouTube?
What's that?
You have the date of when we hit 1 million on YouTube?
I think it was in. There was a YouTube video saying thank you. I think it was in October.
Yeah, late year last year.
Yeah, something like that. So, but through November, December, we didn't do much. One, I had a kid, and two, it's just a slow time typically then, anyways. But looking past that, obviously, our ability to make content has changed a little bit. Where it's you can't really do behind the bumpers too well. We're looking at doing some modifications for that. Some things we've talked about for that is doing like a virtual way of doing it, and especially once teams are able to get back into their shops and that sort of thing, of just having them call in and go that way. We've done these the 30-minute shows with the shallow dives, as we've been calling them, and I think those have been very hit or miss. I think some of them have been pretty successful, and some have not. And I think what we're starting to see specifically with those is that live viewership, we're starting to see the decline that we typically see in the off season. However, YouTube, some of those are doing quite well, especially over time. There's quite a few that just, and those are, we'd probably say for something like that, over 1,000 is probably pretty good in viewership for YouTube. And there's quite a few that are starting to hit that mark or exceed it as well. So I think, we like catering to a live audience because live is, it's more fun to have the chat and engage in that sort of thing. But, we also realize that, from a content model standpoint, we might need to pivot a little bit more to focus more on, shorter form content on YouTube. The interesting thing is that YouTube's algorithm has been changing over time to where it used to be kind of the optimal time was about 3 to 5 minutes for a video. And now it's actually closer to about 7 to 12, probably actually more skewing towards about 10 to 12. Congratulations, by the way, Elon. And it's, so that might change how we do things as well, too. Oh, Red Leader, I'm sorry I missed it there. Thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs, by the way. It's pretty awesome, man.
Hey, it's Leo. Yeah, I put one in earlier, too.
Yeah. So I want to talk about a few things in regards to, we're not going to go through the full history and that sort of thing. You can catch us another time as we go through that. And I really want to talk about current content, what's been working well, what has not. And when I say it hasn't, I guess I need to clarify with that a little bit. It's not like it's been awful or anything like that. It's just areas that I don't think are performing as optimal as I like to see them, or areas I think can have some more improvement to it. So it doesn't necessarily mean we're canceling something or we're going that route. But real quick kind of breakdown on our typical kind of our portfolio content for things. Obviously, 2 main branches, FRC and FTC right now. Let's start with FTC, and then we'll kind of dive into FRC. So FTC, this is now our pretty much second full season of doing FTC. It's honestly, I think we're starting to hit a better stride. I still think there's a ways to go in FTC right now, but our unique reach to FTC has started to grow a lot more. It's still nowhere near what our FRC unique reach is. By the way, exclamation play, if you want to join in and have your marble on the track. Type that in the chat. So it is starting to grow in a good direction. I think there's some things in regards to show content that we can start to evolve a bit more, or maybe do a little bit better job on. I know we've heard some feedback on the FTC region recap, and I think some of it's warranted. I also think some of it is people just being either overly critical or honestly just dicks about things. And that's one of the things where, we have some that we have to brush off, some we don't. Like, for example, there was something that I think overall is pretty cool is that they somebody created like a bingo game, and it was kind of meant to grief a little bit more than anything else, where they, like, if something was said in chat, then they marked off their bingo cards. And actually the premise of that I actually kind of like. I think it's kind of neat to do it, but some of the things on it probably could have been modified a little bit more to be a little bit more GP. But once again, we can't force or stop anybody in those things, but just remember these are real people that are creating a lot of these things too. Some of us have had more years to toughen our skin a bit more. So just, realize that these are people volunteering their time for stuff as well. But so there's things on recap that we can definitely improve. I think there's more research can be done. We're partially limited on FTC. Just based on what's available or when it comes. I mean, people will sometimes give us stuff 20 minutes before a show's supposed to start, and I just don't see how we can, really implement that into a show that quickly. On the other hand, are there more means we can reach out and do stuff for? Yeah, absolutely, we can do that as well too. There's no doubt for that. More behind the bots. You're going to hear a lot more short form content. Is a very successful tool for us, especially for getting new people in and expose the fun. That if you kind of think about like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, If we apply that the first, where people are going to get their initial fulfillment from, it's going to be that short form content and things that go more social and viral. And long form content is great for those who are, really want to get ingrained in the depth and stuff like that, which is why we still create content like that. But we need to focus a little bit more on some other short form content for things.
Any ideas for any other, or Jack can tell us, any other short form content that they would like to see? I know it was brought up recently about bringing back FRC stereotypes.
Yeah, Mike, how do you feel? How do you feel about that? Yeah.
No, I can do some more. Yeah. It's been a while. Those are cool.
A coronavirus version would be funny.
Yeah.
What'd be really funny is if Tyler Holtzman takes second
Rocky.
place here in the marble race.
No, you won't like that.
He finished fourth earlier. I
this.
was going to chat and say better than two, but
Catch a dub
Does
right
marble
here.
die?
Ooh,
Not quite. Oh, he might
didn't
still
make
be
it through
in.
the funnel well.
Oh, he's just stuck up there. That'll happen. Hey, Tyler, by the way. Glad you're on here, man. So looking, once again at FTC, we definitely have some improvements along the road. We will be starting up some more of the FTC simulator tournaments. I know we're starting to do more with FRC and partnering with the second Robotics competition, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And we do want to do more with FTC on that. I think there's a great opportunity to, especially during down seasons, to get more people involved that way. And once again, looking at where the barriers of entries are for things, lots of options for that. A couple of our content things for it we've talked about is, from a short form, both for FRC and FTC is a fun analysis standpoint. A lot of people like the show, but, be honest with you, Karthik and Mason, and Nick Lawrence when they were there and they're not, with fun anymore, really did drive that show home a lot. And I think, we brought on some other hosts and I think they did good, but I think there's still a different kind of, barrier in regards to doing a full hour show for it. So I think there's a good opportunity to start breaking down stuff into, once again, 6 to 10 minutes and posting that on YouTube and going that way. And I think for FRC and FTC, I think there's a great opportunity to do something like that.
Mm-hmm. I just bring up the rear here.
Oh, am I really? Nice. FRC, and by the way, like I said, Chad, I'd really love to hear your feedback on things. What do you like? What don't you like? Where can we improve? That sort of thing. Just post it in. There's no judgment. We'll respond to every single one, and I can't guarantee it's going to be the response that you want to hear necessarily, but we'll hopefully it is. But we'll respond to everyone as we go through this on here. And this is an opportunity to do that. I mean, if you're here to play marbles, that's fine too. Nothing wrong with that. And then I purposely did not put this into the marbles on stream for the game because I wanted to make sure it was just people who are, truly, into fun to watch this. I need to pick a specific marble. Play. What do I want? I want the bot marble. Exclamation play, by the way. Exclamation play. Elin says interviewing vendors. Yeah, I think there's a good opportunity for that. Especially, if championships and stuff comes back, I think there's neat opportunities to do that as well too, at like actual booths on location. For those who don't know, Mike and I, specifically for FRC, and then some of the other FTC hosts will grab some of the FTC content, but Mike and I are literally pretty much all day. We're in one of three locations, right, Mike? We're either in the pits, we're in hospitality grabbing soda or something like that, or we're on rare occasions on the field after a while. Mike reminds me that we haven't watched a match for about 6 hours. So,
yeah.
So yeah, I think there's more opportunities. The innovation fair is really neat, and I think there's a great opportunity for that. But even offline, yeah, I agree. I think once again that might fall more in the short form content. I have troubles visualizing how we can make that into a hour-long show for things. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be by any means like that. By the way, exclamation play, if you want to get your marble on the track. Something that we've, for contributors and crew members and hosts and stuff know this, but over the years, in my background, by the way, as a marketing strategist, a digital marketing strategist and analyst, and specifically in things like consumer behavior, what gets people to want to do things, right? I'm not an engineer, but I've been in FIRST for a really long time, and I bring my marketing background to it. And one of the things that a trend that I've noticed with things is, I don't want to view myself, view somebody else, is that people tend to watch our content for a few main reasons, specifically live. Like what gets somebody to actually say, hey, I'm going to specifically show up at this time to involve in this thing. If you think about that, like with the way, everything is nowadays, how many people watch TV live anymore, right? Like, I mean, other than sports, maybe you like The Masked Singer that much. This is actually a pretty good show, but, a lot of people don't watch things live, and Twitch is all about live. And that's kind of the weird part of it is, that's why, our live viewers, why we do a lot of giveaways live and stuff, because we truly do treat those people like gold, because they're the ones who are taking time out of the day. Now, I understand Israel fans. I'm sorry. I know that it's 4 a.m. for you when we do stuff. I can't do much about that right now, but I feel you on that. And most suppliers don't want to ship to Israel because it's a nightmare to try to get stuff out there. But I'm losing my own track of thought here, but looking at how we do stuff, if we get people to watch live, there's a lot of great stuff to that. So I definitely still, our YouTube is what's growing the most, but I still want to make sure we don't lose focus on people who are watching live, and I really do thank them for taking the time to do that. Bye, Muthu. Your marble has died. Sorry.
Justin, where did you go? You were number one and then just disappeared.
We are number one. Oh, interviewing vendors.
I just fell off.
That's all right. Audrey's in first place now. So with vendors, I mean, I don't. If anybody else wants to chime in on this too, you can. You can at any time. But I think we could probably do some short form stuff. I just don't see how we can do long form. But what gets people to watch? There are 3 main things of what gets somebody to watch a live stream. Archive is a little bit different, but the 3 main things. Number 1, we're talking about their team. Sorry, guys. People are egotistical. They want to hear about their own team. And we know that people, like a good example, FRC top 25, there are people who will specifically watch until the top 10 and then tune out because they're like, well, I'm not in the top 10, so I'm not going to watch anymore. Like that, it might be some of you listening right now. That's just how it is. Number 2, it's a top tier elite type team or a team that just has something like super interesting with it that, is like, or they're a more popular team. Like a good example that might be like a 49-11 or something like that, where they've skyrocketed a lot in popularity. So people will probably be more apt to tune in to watch something about their team as well. Number 3 is that it's something controversial, hot topic, like really like one of those things like I need to watch right now. Good example, the season canceling. Mike and I went on air for something like that. That's a really good example of something like that. Those are the main reasons people tend to tune in live. And if you tune in for other reasons, totally fine too. Those are just kind of the main things that we boiled a lot of stuff down to as we go through on this. So, when we think about like a supplier or interviewing a vendor, that doesn't really fall into any of those categories for things. So when we try to look at like, what gets people to tune in, this is also why in many cases for like even like the region shallow dives, like, to bring on a tier 4 or 5, a team that truly nobody's heard of at all or anything like that, while cool to some people, in general, people are not going to show up to watch it. And I've talked about this before, is that I would love to do more of that, and we do need to find a way to work it in. I agree with that, but we can't make it all about them because nobody's going to watch it otherwise. Even Behind the Bumpers is a great example of that. I mean, our 1323s, 254s, and stuff like that are going to get, tens of thousands of views on them. And then there's some Behind the Bumpers that get 500. It's, as when we look, only 6 people finished. And as we look and we analyze, we want to put in a good mix, right? And in marketing, we talk about mix a lot. Like you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. The fulcrum has to lie somewhere. We have to do a good mix of teams where we do occasionally mix in, tier 3, tier 4 teams for things. But in general, once again, people are going to watch for the higher tier teams. So it kind of puts us in a weird catch-22 for that. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on that.
Well, something that has just been great since kind of, back in the day, which is just, Justin and I, is that Fun has so many avenues now to kind of, I missed the join. It just has so many avenues now to get it out. And the region recaps are amazing because, before Justin and I were trying to cover so many, so many events and areas, it's just impossible, So being able to have local areas tune into local hosts, talk about local events, has really been great. And but yeah, it is that mix because it isn't all about the tier 1 teams. First is much bigger than that, and we love highlighting the lower minor teams, and that's the tier 3, tier 4 teams are the teams that we get like the most appreciation from. When we see them in person and stuff like that.
That is very true.
So, so because we've just been able to. I think Fun has done a great job at being able to bring light and coverage to a lot of teams who would never have kind of really been able to do that before. So that's something I've really enjoyed in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think that the vendor like perspective is a great like YouTube thing, but I also would encourage vendors to like reach out to us to see if because we have a very team centric audience, and reach out to us for anything that they would consider doing, because it's a great way to get your name out there and debut products and get feedback on products and things like that. I think people would be interested in maybe a little bit of a behind the curtains, like what did Vex think about the release of the Falcon 500? What are they doing differently? I feel like we could be an avenue for that level of advocacy for the FRC community versus like the average Chief Delphi post every now and then updating people about issues they're facing and things like that.
Yeah, Justin, you brought up a good point there about like the almost kind of being the product testers, or at least like a feedback panel or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's a cool idea. I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I think too, like the way that you had like somebody like Joe Johnson on the other night from Formlabs, who's not necessarily like a supplier, but he has worked with a lot of different companies that have, I believe, supplied for FRC, but he's worked for a lot of different companies. So it's interesting to have somebody who's in the industry like that kind of on as well to talk about like a specific thing that's happening right now.
But even to that point, like on that, like Joe, like for those who've been around a long time, Joe Johnson's a legend in the first community. But even something like that, I mean, our concurrent viewership for that was 50, 60 or something like that. And even looking at the YouTube archive right now, that's at 300 views. So that's kind of my point with that stuff, is that like, I mean, and we've been pretty hesitant on covering COVID stuff for the most part anyways, but like, to me, that was, I mean, if you watch that show, I thought it was fantastic. Like the insight that was brought to that was, I mean, by Mike and Joe, and why am I blanking on Jerry Cult from Stryker, was amazing. But on the other hand, not a lot of people watched it. So once again, it's that weird catch-22 of things where it's like, that it doesn't motivate me to try to create more content with that as well.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because it's like things you think will do well sometimes don't end up doing as well. Like you said, it was a great show. We got a lot of individual people reach out, and Dev Bool, just said that in the chat too, that it was a really good show, and we thought so as well. But yeah, sometimes it's just hard to gauge, and it's just a weird time right now too. So I think that's also a factor where a lot of people are still in the first world very much, seeing what they can do with their teams, and others kind of have just not been. So it's just an interesting time. So
I've been grabbing all the questions, so we'll kind of just take these one by one. So we might circle back a couple times. Kiraku asks, how are region recaps going to change moving forward? Yeah, that's a good question. So there's a couple. This is something we met with the showrunners on this past week. By the way, Cadell, congratulations on first place on winning. We'll keep doing more, Graham. Actually, let's do a battle royale. Why not? If you want to see anything play, you can just let us know. Okay, region recaps. So after next week, we're actually going to be done with region recaps. They would have been done anyways at the time when we hit May. So that's the initial plan for that. Now, longer term, not knowing what's going to happen with the season, right? By the way, exclamation play, if you want to get in. And the way you play the Battle Royale is you're going to do exclamation target and then at a screen name, and that's how you target that person. So if you want to target, I don't know, Mike Stark, for example, could be a good person on there. You can go ahead and do that as well. So, yes. Okay, so region recap. Long-term wise, there's a couple trains of thoughts on this. There's pretty much three things that could happen. Either everything aligns, and for some reason First gets their act together on handling events, which they have not done a good job at. See the cancellations where they're coming out all individually, not from First. And let's say it all gets scheduled out. Like we're like, hey, okay, events start July 1st, and they're going to run through October. First is going to control when and where that happens. That's kind of the pie in the sky overall thing. Number 2 is going to be probably what's more apt to happen, where events are just going to run on their own. There's no organization, and they just kind of like, okay, you can run an event, great. And that's also partially because it's hard to get venues and stuff too. So I recognize that. It's not like I'm just totally harping on First for that. But that's probably a good way that's going to happen, and then it will be at X time that happens. And number 3 is nothing happens, and that's quite possible as well too. So taking scenario number 2, which I think is the most likely, personally, we will probably kind of make ad hoc recaps for things where, if all of a sudden, 2 districts in Canada go and an event in Texas goes and California goes and Israel goes, something like that, we'll just kind of make a hodgepodge show out of it. I shouldn't say hodgepodge, but we'll take hosts from different regions and create something based on that. That's kind of the current thought process of what we're going to do for that as we go through. Norm, RM2091, I felt your pain before. I said, Israel, I'm sorry that we can't do it earlier. So, but that's probably the most likely to happen on this, is that we're just going to somehow try to put together like a bi-weekly recap or something like that. I'll see who's interested and available, and we can kind of go that route. Hopefully we'll at least get some sort of schedule at some point and kind of go that way as well too. But yeah, the shallow dives will be done after next week. We'll have the FRC deep dive with Nick Cousins will be coming back. And that will be a once a month show. And then we have some other shows that I'll talk about in a little bit as well too. Am I dead already? Nope, not yet.
What?
I'm at full health.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, Tiger at Connor now, everybody. Everybody go after Connor.
Like
Mike, you're at good health, Mike.
What am I supposed to be doing?
You can hit exclamation target and then at somebody, and
that's
then your marble will start to target that person. Like you're targeting Cookie Hero. See how you're following Cookie Hero right now?
Oh, I just switched that to Justin.
Oh, well, there you go.
Will I fall off the edge?
No, your marble won't fall off the edge.
So what do I do? Just
you don't. This is like the other thing. Your marbles just go, man.
Don't target me.
Yeah. Adam, thank you for the sub, by the way. So that's kind of the way that's probably going to go. I don't really have a fantastic answer on that, or a definitive answer, I should say, but that's the current thought process for it, is that we'll try to bring something back if events come back for it. Same thing with FTC as well. We don't know if their kickoff's going to happen still in September, right? For FTC, I actually have my flight booked to Reno for FTC to go film Robot in One weekend out there. So we'll see if that does happen, because I think that's been great content. Don't target me, by the way. I'm almost dead.
I just want to point out, Kid Burrito killed me and Mike, so we gotta get him out of here. I think.
Wow. Get him out of here.
Banned.
Red Leader 342, definitely short term for the virus, or even off season stuff. I could see it being fun to just do some standard gaming streams, maybe have guests or hosts do a let's play in that route. I'll take this one. So in general, I think if we had a celebrity or something like that, maybe, but none of us are, by the way, Elin winning again, whose name I probably mispronounced like always. There's none of us are like, grandmasters of games or anything like that. So the way that we've been, that we tested, and I think it will work moving forward, and it has, is that for those who watch the FRC simulator stream that we did and the Rocket League stream that we did, both of those went really well. People were in the right place at the right time, and the overall organization went well. It wasn't perfect, but it went really well overall. So I'm a big fan of that. So I think that's probably the most likely, is that we create kind of tournaments. So I'm going to kind of transition into a real quick chat about that. So there was a group that actually a couple fun hosts were in it, started something called Second Robotics Competition, or SRC, kind of concurrently when we were starting to do some stuff with the FRC, FTC sim people. And we've decided to combine forces for that and actually start to have streams on fun for that. So the thought will be You can actually go onto the Discord. There's a link in our Discord for it under the information channel. But they are playing like 6-man, so you can just join and just play a scrimmage. Excuse me, anytime. And that wasn't very stream-like. I kind of just belched on air, but so
I didn't hear it.
oh, good, perfect. So thresholds, exclamation play if you want to join in this, by the way. So those can play at any time. And then the thought process is weekly, we're going to do a stream that they were doing and do it on fun and try to get the exposure up more so more people can play. So we'll do like a tournament every weekend. And then we'll have a season tournament. We haven't determined how frequent that's going to be yet, but at some point. And Javon, I just saw you join in, so we'll pull you in just a minute to do a tournament that way. And I think that's a great route to go for that. And for Rocket League, I think we're going to probably do a tournament monthly for that. And then we'll see if there's any other games we can join in as well too on there as well. So I think there's good opportunities for something like that. But I'd rather involve more people, and I think that's a great way to involve more people. Instead of just having myself or bringing in a guest to do it that way. I'd rather just to like say, hey, let's open this up to everybody and make this more inclusive of things. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring in Javon. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name on here. I'm so bad. I know I'm horrible at that, guys, and I'm really sorry about that. So how's it going?
Good.
Good. What's your comment, question, or what do you want to let us know about?
Well, I would just like to point out that I've been competing in the SRC, and so far the events have been a lot of fun. So I'm excited that they're going to be partnering with Fun for these events. So it should be a good time.
Yeah. So I'm happy to hear that. How frequently do you play?
I've played in all the weekend events they've had, as well as I usually do some of the 6-man matches.
Okay. Can you speak a little bit more to the 6-mans? Like, what does that entail? Or like somebody who doesn't know what it is, like, what does that actually mean for somebody who's kind of coming in cold?
Okay, so basically they are ranked matches where what you do is you queue in via the Discord, and then you join the server, and you're ranked based on the performance that you do in the match. So if you win the match, your ELO goes up and you rank higher. And then we also pull some of the matches from the tournaments also go in. So basically have a ranking leaderboard for that.
Okay. So this is like a ladder ranking sort of thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, and we're excited to hopefully hype it up a bit more. I don't want to take any credit away from the people on SRC because they're doing the vast majority of the work for it, especially Nick, who has been absolutely kicking ass and just doing everything for that in regards to like the production value and that sort of thing. Even some of the new transitions we had, that stuff he's made, and unofficially, I've asked Nick to help out more with Fun because I think he's an amazing person to the first community. So can't wait to see more of that. So yeah, thanks for calling. Anything else you wanted to go through?
That's all I have for now.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you for letting me join.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure.
Take care. So did any of you three, did you end up seeing any of the simulator tournaments or anything like that?
I watched a little bit of the Rocket League because some of our kids were in it, but that was it.
I did watch a little bit of the FRC tournament as well. The sim tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up watching some of the sim tournament, but it's weird because I didn't end up like going to any events, and I only watched like very short snippets of like elimination matches like live. So this whole like game in the season just feels really distant to me. So
Yeah.
watching the sim version was really weird. It was like
It's a lot higher scoring.
Yes. Yeah, 'cause you can hold unlimited power styles, right?
Yeah. No, yeah. Realistically, your robot can only hold, I think, like 8 or something like that. But obviously, you can line up a lot more. There's actually something kind of cool is that there's a like a targeting application you get where it doesn't like target necessarily, but it just puts a circle up on your screen. So if you know where to line up every time, the second that circle lines up, you're like, okay, I'm in the right spot to fire, sort of thing. It's kind of neat. Some people might call it cheating. I don't think it is. But exclamation play, by the way.
it's like bumpers when you're bowling. You gotta
Yeah.
start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody asked about the sim. Yeah, there's definitely a sim in there. Whenever Nightbot goes and shows all of the discords, the link for the sim is in that as well too. But always, if you go to our Discord, the link for that is in. But yeah, please join that. Join that Discord and please join that. The check it out. It's super cool. It's a free download. And it works for both Windows and I think iOS. It works as well too, or not iOS. Whatever. What is Mac's operating system called? Is it iOS?
OS.
OS. Oh yeah, iOS is for iPhones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
That's
So, okay. More questions or comments? Just a comment from Fulton. I think just kind of reiterating in regards to vendors for things. He says, if it, things about like GoBuilda, it says nowadays people would just be asking about when GoBuilda are going to release the one-to-one bevels. And he's talking about in regards to having vendors on for things and like, what makes things interesting. And that's true. I mean, I think having the AMAs with the vendors is a great way to do AMAs for stuff. And I think, having them talk about new products and when things are going to happen or when things aren't going to happen, that sort of thing, I think is really interesting to hear, especially the big vendors. I think FRC, you got the big ones with, AndyMark and Rev and VexPro, and then, a few other suppliers that we could see. I think those are probably, I don't know, are there any others who are like, yes, that's like the best? I mean, I know there's like, Great and a few other vendors out there, things like Analog Devices. So I think it's like really underrated in like the sensors they provide for things. I think a lot of people just don't, it's maybe do not get as excited about something like that, but
Yeah.
I don't know Justin, what other vendors would you maybe recommend, or Christine?
As you were talking about that, I think with the new control system coming out, like I think that's a great opportunity to bring in Rev and, just have them provide updates or give the community updates about what's going on. I don't know how much they're allowed to say, and I don't know the back end of it.
Mm-hmm.
But like as someone who's very interested in what this is going to look like going forward, those kind of like updates, especially now without much else going on in FRC, those updates would be really cool to hear and keep people excited, and because I'm both excited and nervous about a new control system.
Yeah.
So that would be nice to hear.
That's a good point on that.
I think too, for a vendor like Rev, it would be great to have them on because like Greg and his employees are really well versed with First and like understand kind of who the audience watching a show like that would be, and
Sure.
they also understand their like NDAs and how much they can give away. So
Yeah.
I think companies that are similar to Rev or like AndyMark or whatever would be good to have on. I think it'd be interesting too to kind of see the progression of a product too. Like something that I've been talking a lot with my colleagues at work about is a lot of students who are outside this bubble of First, unfortunately, and even inside the bubble, like don't know the full like scope of possibilities beyond like just engineering in terms of like a career and how the things they're doing in First relate to it. Like as hokey as it sounds, it would be really interesting at least to see that side of things, I guess, like how some of the maybe they're like First alumni are working for suppliers and a product they worked on and what they ended up doing. I'd be interested to see that, or even like kind of hunting down alumni and seeing what are you doing, kind of like the how I work stuff that Spectrum does, but more so like how do you work, but what in First kind of gave you the the ability to decide on this career and then excel at it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, I think the comment the last half there with like alumni and stuff like that, I think those fall maybe more into short form content for things, unless we can get multiple people on, which is quite possible.
Where are they now? Okay.
Yeah. And actually, I'm just going to kind of follow up on Red Leader's comment, because he was actually, when we were talking about gaming, he meant having other hosts and contributors and stuff on, or crew members on. I actually think I'd love to do some interviews with crew members about what their jobs are for things and, what they actually do and maybe highlight that. But once again, I find that hard to do like as a full live show stuff, once again, which is okay. We don't need to only have live show content for stuff. But I do like to potentially focus on that. For things so we, once again, can appease our live viewers who are watching as well.
Content wise too, I haven't figured out quite the right recipe for it, but I think there is a huge missing piece in the community for like I don't know, like a conversation or a show based around like off the field stuff, not really like chairmans specifically, but awards in general. Like we look really critically at like behind the bumpers and stuff, and look really into detail and interview students about what like their robot does or like any special function. But I think there's a huge missing component that not even First is really like recognizing. I think like there's no more website award. There's really no emphasis on social media recognition in terms of like teams that are best utilizing, like you do, Tyler, with Fun, like every platform possible to like really leverage engagement and like spreading awareness and stuff. So I'd be curious to find out from, you know, our current hosts and then our viewers, like what they want to see more of content wise that isn't necessarily technical or
Sure.
like robot on the field related. Because I think there's, I mean, especially with so many areas going to districts, like awards are huge. And I think First has gotten really good about being way more transparent with their resources online, like on the First website. But in general, like in the community, there's not a lot of, I think, you know, conversation around it. And I think this year, especially like coming from a team that, you know, didn't compete, I'm sure a lot of people can feel for me when I say this, that it sucks that a lot of the work that was put into like, you know, your technical binders and your displays and how you were gonna, you know, use unique ways to like talk to the judges, like that is kind of in a non-existent place. And for a lot of people, like I'm not gonna be able to access like our lab space this year because they closed school for Massachusetts for the rest of the year. So I think a lot of students are in that boat where they can't physically really access that stuff or get at it, but at some point it would be nice to figure out a way to like showcase it. I don't know about a show, but I don't know, something would be nice.
Yeah, and Audrey in chat saying that she agrees with that as well too. So yeah, I think definitely think there's opportunities for those. I think, you know, and maybe we just do polls on things. Like I kind of like the thought of that. You know, if somebody has an idea, that we just post it in and have Discord react to it and say, is this something you would tune in live for and watch afterwards? Yes or no? And then maybe we just take like what the Discord. I mean, geez, we have 2,900 people in our Discord now. You know, we can start to utilize it. I think, you know, a year ago we had 1,200, so they kind of get perspective where we are on that. And part of it's because our Discord's not public, so we do get some people in who just, I think, randomly join stuff because they do. But what is this cloud thing you just went into? But with that said, I think we can, you know, take more polls from the public, and I do occasionally ping the sub members only thing, but we can do more with the general public as well too. I think that would make sense. Bye, Justin. I think you're gonna die here.
Yeah. I do think an idea that we had talked about I think a year ago of the fun days.
Christine, your mic's kind of getting a little hollow occasionally, like it's kind of going in and out. Just a heads up.
No.
It's a little better.
You kind of back.
Teachers
Nope.
do technology. You hear me now?
It's still kind of doing the same thing. So I'm going to grab just another question as we go through. We can wrap back to it. So, Bob Zinkoff, thoughts on making videos on how to scout or do mat strategy? Yes, we have actually thought about that. There is a team, a very high-end team that has reached out to us about creating some of those videos and content, and I think that's going to happen. So stay tuned. No guarantees, but stay tuned. I think we're going to have some stuff on that specifically with a very high-end team that has approached us about doing stuff like that. So I think there's good potential with that as well. Kevin Leonard, I think you could bring on people from 2 to 3 tier, or from 2 to 3 tier 3-4 teams and give them the same kind of questions we give for tier 1-2 teams and shell dives and get those teams some exposure. Yeah, I mean, kind of, I'm not sure when you joined in, but just kind of to reiterate, it is very difficult to do that for any long form content to get people to watch live. However, I think there's good opportunities short form wise to do that, and or to mix people in to long form content. Like a thought on FRC Deep Dive was we would have the high, because FRC Deep Dive tends to be, very high end teams. They have that team pick another team that is maybe not as well known in their area and feature them for like 5 minutes during a show or something like that. I think that's where we can do something like that. I don't see us successfully doing like a 30-minute show on a team like that. Christine, are you back at all?
I think so.
Maybe. Let's try. Let's. I didn't want to have you lose focus on your thought and cut you off there. So, there's anything else you want to add in from before?
I don't think so.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So, Deb Boy, are there plans for a second tech challenge? I saw rolls in the Sin Discord. Wondering if you guys know the time frame. So yes, we are planning on setting up a league for FTC as well, which is open to anybody. If you're in FTC, you can join the FRC, and vice versa. Or if you're just anybody, you can join with that as well. So yes, that is in plans to set up. I think tentatively we were looking at next Wednesday. There might be a modification just due to a couple things. I'll let you know, but most likely it'll happen next Tuesday or next Wednesday for the initial first tournament. That'll give us a good barometer how many people are interested in it, and if we get enough interest, then we will do more league play and that sort of thing as well. So I think that's of good potential for that as well. I mean, the FRC FTC sim is fantastic. I mean, those who are in FTC know Gluten Free Dad, who is the developer for this, has done an incredible service to the FIRST community by doing this, and I really hope it continues to grow. They've been super cool with keeping me involved and engaged on hey, how can we scale this up? How can we bring in more multiplayer? How can we make it good for streams? And I provided some input on that. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not doing any of the work on it, but I really appreciate that they have been open to that and been open to making changes to make it more palatable for streams. And I think it's gone a really long ways of doing that, which is really cool with that as well. I do think there's some other games, especially if you use the Faceit application, the one we did for Rocket League. There's like 5 or 6 other games that are listed on there. I think there's good potential to do that. I think some other one-off tournaments, I've been very hesitant to do those, but now that it looks like we have interest for those, we could do. Like, I don't like Fortnite at all, but there might be plenty of people who want to do a Fortnite tournament, for example. Or a Call of Duty Warzone tournament or something like that, like some sort of battle royale. The nice thing is, because we're not FIRST, we can play games like that. That's okay. There's no way, I don't think FIRST would ever be playing a game with blood, guts, and gore occasionally, but I think we can do something like that, and everybody can be mature about it as we go through. Minecraft Mondays with fun hosts. Maybe so, Spaceman. Okay, so we'll still take questions if you have any, or if you want to call in, you can join the call-in channel queue for that. I think I might be caught up on questions. If I missed your question, just retype it and tag me if you don't mind. So talk about SRC. I do want to talk a little about sponsorships and kind of the future fun in regards to, that's just a ghost ball, so we'll wait for the other ones to come through. Monetary revenue, that sort of thing, kind of what we're looking at and what we're looking at doing. So I need to make something really clear that I think a majority of you know watching live, but a lot of people think that this is my full-time job. It is not. I work a full-time job, and I have a 4-month-old, and I do this. And I have a wife as well too with that 4-month-old. So fun has become something that I am putting as much work into it as I am my full-time job. And at some point, I need to be realistic of that. One or two things have to give, and it sure as hell ain't going to be my family on that stuff, right? So, so I need to look at, where does the future look like for fun? How does that work out? Does it mean I can delegate more? Yes, very much so. It probably does mean I can do that, and I already have. This is once again why I'm not on air all the time, right? Is that my way of delegating was bringing in more hosts who are passionate about their areas to make it happen that way, and I would handle the back end work. There is a fundamental issue with having volunteers for things, is that while some volunteers are extremely accountable, not all are. That does include some of our staff members we have right now, or some of our crew members as well too, are not as accountable as we want them to be. And when it comes to doing things in the back end, my tolerance for not having things done would be very low on something like that. Like, it has to get done. And I can't, the problem I have with that is that relying on, people who are technically minded and want to do this and understand the back end work, it's a freaking grind, guys. Like, for those, who have done things like video editing and streaming and social media posting and all this stuff combined into what we do for stuff, it is a freaking grind. And it takes a long time to do, stuff for prep. If we were to break down what I do in a given week, typically I would equate that the amount of work that I do in a week is equates to about as much as everybody else in fun combined. That is the realisticness of what a lot of it is. That, I probably put in during the middle of the season 30 to 40 hours a week doing fun stuff in one way or the other. So with that said, I need to look at, I love fun. I love what we're doing with it. I love that we're bringing more stuff in for that. And if I want to do this more, if I want to be able to grow fun more, we need to find some way to bring in a monetary revenue source to do that. We have been reliant on the community for a really long time who has stepped up in a big way, and we still need you to step up in a big way for that. But realistically, the community, if we were to just rely on only donations this year, our revenue would be about $8,000. That's, might cover, trips and, the airfare to send, myself and Mike out to competitions and stuff like that. And it gets us some mugs to get for our hosts and thank yous and that sort of thing like that. But obviously it doesn't do much past that. So we still need that. It still is a great base and we do really appreciate it. But time-wise, it's just not worked out the way that, if everybody gave $1, we'd be in much better shape. We have 160,000 unique people who watch fun in a given year. If everybody gave $1, we'd be awesome. Like that'd be enough to make sure we do things. However, we're not at that rate. About, over a course of a year, about 1,000 people do. And that's just not cutting it for what we need, financially. So looking at what we can do, there's some options. We could turn on things like YouTube ads and that sort of thing. But even something like that, a lot of people ask me, like, why don't you run YouTube ads? And if you do ever see a YouTube ad, it's not that we ran it, it's that somebody put music on and it got copyrighted, and that's why there's ads. But YouTube pays out on what's called a CPM, or cost per mil. That's how most advertising works, is you have 1,000 viewers. This is how much money you make for when 1,000 people get an impression of your ad. YouTube CPM for something like that is about $1.50, which means in 1 million views in a year, we would make $1,500. Please let that sink in a little bit. 1 million views in a year will pay us out about $1,500. Now, it will vary. It could be as low as probably $800. It could be as high as about $3,000. Once again, exclamation play if you want to get your marble on the track. So that's not the best revenue for us to go. So looking at what we do have, we have a very passionate base, and even a wider, set of people who are in first for things. And there is an opportunity for us to do advertising because we have a very granular audience that is very specific on things, right? Fits in, most people fit into a typical demographic of, are into STEM, right? It's a great demographic to have for things. And if anybody feels marginalized by me saying this, I'm not, but please realize my background is in digital marketing, and this is how we view stuff when we do this stuff. And a CPM rate, when we look at things like digital marketing, can be 30, 40, 50, 60 times the amount of what YouTube pays for things. So there is opportunity for us to do enough on there. And there is enough for us to do enough based on what we have right now. And especially if we grow more, where if we bring in a few sponsors, we can cover everything that we need to in fun. And what that allows us to do is not only what we're doing right now, and it would give me the security that I need in order to leave my job at some point, which I would need to do if we want to do more, but it does allow us to do, bye Mike, sorry. It does allow us to do so much more.
Oh, come on.
It does allow us to do so much more as well too. And that's really what it comes down to, is what can we do on top of what we're doing? And I don't necessarily mean more content, but I mean polishing something. I mean, doing stuff where, we have much better graphics for things. The quality rises up more. We can probably do more quantity on things, but more refining of what that quantity as well on something like that too. So it's more about, how can we provide a better experience for you? And money helps with that. I mean, that's just the honest truth with it. We need to find a way for revenue on that. Money helps in order to make that happen. It could get me out to more events more. It could get me out. I mean, I'd love to, honestly, all 7 weeks of of FRC competition season, I'd love to go to 2 events every single weekend. Just go to one, film, and fly out to the next one. and do that route. And think of how many more teams we could cover that way for behind the bumpers and other media content. FTC, the same thing. I could go out to more FTC events and create more content that way. We could bring on some staff as well too, which would be awesome. As we go through, where, like, for example, I know how to do editing, but it takes a really long time. If I could bring on somebody to do video editing, work on graphics, or even somebody to work in sales, these are things that would actually allow us to create a bona fide sustained business for things. And in order to have fun, be around in 5 years from now, that's really the model we have to take for stuff. I don't think it's realistic to say that in 5 years, if we keep going the same route, that fun is going to just be exactly the way it was. It's just, at some point I need to back off. And if I back off, that means that one of two things need to happen. Other people need to step up more in those roles that I'm doing, which I'm not trying to gloat or anything, but it's what I do is not easy for the stuff that I do. So it's hard to get people to fill that consistently and be consistent while doing it. Or two, we need to scale back on things. And there are things we can scale back on, but I would rather see a future where fun becomes a sustainable company, where fun actually provides, constant high quality content for things. We focus, the honest truth is that, we're not the flashiest people out there. Other teams, other organizations have flashier content than what we do, but we focus on, let's get a good amount of chunk of content. That's why we try to cover so many teams and behind the bumpers. And then let's bring on really passionate people for those as well, and have people be our quality for things, which you can argue. I mean, I know there's some people you don't like, you might not like me for things, but in general, we have very passionate people who really do care about what this stuff is. And, I think having content created by people who are actually in first, I think goes a really long ways, right? Instead of having, and I'm not trying to rag, like an example, like RoboZone. I like RoboZone. I think the stuff that they create is good stuff, but it's not meant for people who are in first. It's the stuff that they create has been targeted for the longest time for people outside of first, and that's completely okay. But the void that has been created, or never even really started for the most part, and to scale of like what we're doing for people who are actually in first, that's the niche that we're fitting. First, I don't really, they might try to do more stuff like we do. I mean, they did try to copy a couple things we did, whatever. But first goal is to
copy.
Okay,
it was a copy.
Yes. But first goal is to grow, right? Their goal is to try to reach their mission is to try to reach as many people as possible for things. That's where they're going to be focused on, and that's understandable. I get that. But for us, we want to try to focus on you that are really involved and engaged in this program, or even involved. I mean, we're starting to reach people now that are, the viewers that we have on right now. You guys are typically super engaged, right? Like, you are our golden standard of audience for things. You are the people that, consistently follow us and do things like that. And we love you for that. But now we're starting to reach past more than the, 1, 2, 3% of people in first, past the cheap Delphi crowd, that sort of thing. And that's where our content's starting to engage. Excuse me. And once again, if you look at what our unique reach is, I'm just going to round it. Let's say it's 150,000 a year. How many people are actively involved in first in a year? I don't know, 600,000, something like that. This is a crazy map, that sort of thing. So if you think about that, or let's say it's 1 million, right? But we don't really do anything for FLL. So take out that amount and we're probably left with about 600,000, which probably means realistically that about 1 in 3 people in FRC are consuming our content in a year, and probably about 1 in 5 in FTC right now are consuming our content in a year for things. And that's pretty crazy. Like, that's sincerely has never been done in regards to what the community content is. Yeah. What's that?
Oh, I was just saying that's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah. And sorry, I know I'm rambling. I know I'm going into a rant. So, but, so looking in regards to what we can do and what we can, try to do better and create content with on it, we're still going to really, focus on people who want just more out of what they're doing right now. But now we're starting to hit the people where some of them show up, they have a shop teacher and that's it. And before there was nothing else for them. And now we're trying to create stuff where they can be involved too. And I think that's a really important aspect of not only, just growing fun, but just, being a good steward of the community. For something like that, and that's where my interest is for things. Hey, it's Leo gifting 5 tier 2 subs. Holy crap, man! Thank you so much for that. That's awesome, guys. If you just received a sub from Hey, it's Leo, or you got one from Red Leader earlier, please make sure you thank them for that as well. I'm not sure if anybody has any I haven't looked in chat for a while, but if anybody has any questions in regards to that, kind of that future wise, so that's the business aspect of things, right? We need to do more of that. So right now, obviously, Stryker has come in big for us. I can't go into specifics. Once we start getting more sponsors, then we can talk about funds revenue and what it looks like. But we do have contracts signed with stuff. So if I, with Stryker being our only main sponsor right now, I don't want to go into specifics of what they're paying and stuff. That we have contracts signed for them. There's some privacy things with that, but it gave us a good foothold for things. It's not anywhere close to where we need to be to go full time, but it is a great foothold, and I really appreciate it. I know some of you, Stryker might have been a name that many of you barely have heard of before, and hopefully you know about it more. And some of you I know are like, I hear Stryker all the time now, and I get that. But on the other hand, they're the company that's actually stepping up to support us. So we hope that you can view it that way a little bit, that they're the ones who are actually giving us money so we can create more things, so we can get more people out to events. Like I said, I wouldn't be flying out to Reno in September for the FTC kickoff if it wasn't for that. Let's see who got first place, by the way. So we do plan on bringing in more. PTC, I believe, is going to be coming on board for at least a month to promote their Robots to the Rescue competition. If you have not checked that out, and this is technically not paying for me to say this or anything like that, but sincerely, if you haven't checked it out, please go do. It's a Onshape competition. You can learn how to do Onshape. You just submit any sort of robot that solves a problem, and literally they are giving money into your team accounts. So go look that up and go check that out, because they're giving away, I think, over $7,000 cash into your team's account for registration or anything else your team's account may use. So that's super cool. So that's a freebie for you, PTC. Just heads up. First taste is free, right? So, as we start to look at more companies, part of it is we never really looked at sponsors before. And now that, the option is there, now that we're starting to hit the viewership, we would love to do more of that. But two main clauses with that. One, that we have with sponsors. And when we approach sponsors, there's two main things that we have clauses with them for. And we have turned down a couple because of this. Number one, the whatever they're promoting, so if it's recruitment or a product or an event or anything like that, has to be something that the community will find some value to, in our opinion. So for example, we think Stryker can be valuable because they literally do pay in really top dollar to their employees. They specifically want people in first, and they want to support people for being in first. Legitimately, that's their goal, and that's why we're okay with them doing things for recruitment. PTC, for example, they're doing a competition, Robots to the Rescue. I think that's a valuable thing to the community, and that's why we're okay with it. If all of a sudden, some random company came to us, probably not, right? Like that's if it's something where it doesn't make sense, we're not going to go that route. So that's clause number one. Clause number two, and something I want to address, this is one of those few but loud people out there. In fun, we typically say we're loud, live, and I'll start a new race. We say we're loud, live, and independent. We'll do a Royale. And I do truly mean that. By saying that, the content that we create is going to be independent content. It is going to be free of what influence is from other suppliers, other companies, other things like that. We're going to create the content we want to make and continue to create the content we want to make. And that's the way we're going to go about things. So when we look at sponsors like Stryker, for example, straight up said, hey, we're going to talk about things the way we still want to talk about. And most, the ones that have come to us or the ones that we talked to now are pretty cool with that, because they're like, that's exactly why we want to go with you guys, because it's not canned BS or, things that are just straight up from this is the PC way of everything like that. I'd say we're generally politically correct, but in general, what I mean to say by that is that, we're not going to be like, oh, all of a sudden this sponsor said this, shh, don't ever, we joke about it occasionally, oh, don't say things about Stryker. But, if Stryker done F's up, we were going to talk about it, and that's okay with that. And these are things where if it's relevant in the community, and be straight up, this is why I'm not interested in taking money from suppliers. We'll take for suppliers giveaways, which I think is a great fit for them anyways, because most suppliers don't have, 5 figures to drop with us for something like that. But they have, items and gifts. But on the other hand, if we take money from them, now that potentially inhibits us from, if somebody comes out with a bad product or something that somebody had a bad experience with, does that, prohibit us from saying something about it? And it's not like we're going to go in and start ragging on them necessarily on things, we have in the past, but it doesn't mean that we should not be able to talk about it. And that's really where that comes down to being loud, live, and independent, is that we will still create independent content regardless of who we bring on for sponsorship. That is a clause that we have with sponsors. We are not bending on that moral or principle at all for something like that.
That was a great point, Tyler.
Lots of ranting, so Dead Boy says you can be sponsored by people and still talk bad about them. I mean, you got to realize they're giving you money, though, right? So there's things like that. I think of a show. I'm a big fan of a show called Adam Ruins Everything, and of course, whenever I see something like this, some people are like, "Yeah, it's a great show," and other people are like, "He's a moron." But where he talks about that, they bring up show topics for things, and they try to be very independent and talk about things on a very factual level. And there's times where the network that they have, which is I think TNT. Has tried to kibosh things they've had, and a couple times successfully, and sometimes they have not. And I think of something like that, or like PBS or something like that, like where they're truly trying to provide this like independent content for things. And that's really what I want us to be. Is that we're still going to do stuff that's entertaining, and we're still going to do we're going to try to do news and stuff like that, but we don't want to be, influenced by the people who are giving us money for things. And it's an easy thing to do. And I know it might sound like I'm blowing smoke up your ass or something like that. I'm really not. This is truly my viewpoint on this, is that you guys are our customers. You who are watching are our fans. You are our customers. You are our biggest priority for things. And that's what we want to create content for, is something like that. Down to the final 10, by the way. Yay, I'm still alive. So is Mike.
You just knocked out Tyler Holtzman. How dare you?
Did I really? We are number one. Like Mike Schreiber, who almost just went off the map there. But yeah, I mean, that's sincerely the way we're looking at it that way. All right, shows. So there are some new shows that we're looking at bringing on, specifically 2 right now that I have on 2.5, I should say, because one we piloted for things. So let's talk about that. Don't target me. Don't do it. Mike, come on. Come on, Mike. No, don't do it. I'm going to keep running away from Mike. Did I just get a health pack? That'd be amazing if I just did. Where did I go? Oh, I teleported. Okay, new shows for things. So I talked about FTC a little bit, how we're going to try to evolve that in regards to creating maybe more offline content for that. For FRC specifically, new stuff that we're looking at doing, and then some things we're looking at potentially changing for stuff. First off, we are bringing on board for a new pilot, the Ramp Crew. If anybody knows who that is, they created a couple podcasts last summer for things, and it kind of they weren't able to keep stuff going for it. So we're offering our support arm to help them produce the shows, to help them provide them kind of that structure and consistency for things. But they're going to be creating essentially a first history show on stuff, and it's going to be that. So for example, I think a topic that just got brought up, and I might have forgotten to reply back to it, was talking about like the history of Chairman's Award and where that goes through. We're talking about history of specific years or history of teams during years and that sort of thing like that. So kind of a first history show with kind of a background of that. That's the gist of it. And then they might be doing a couple other things with that as well. And sorry if I completely miscategorized that or characterized that. So that's one. Number 2 is I'd like to bring back a First Updates Now variety show. Let me go to the race menu. A couple things with that. What I like to see that entail. We used to do a lot more for recap, and Mike, Justin, and Christine might remember this a couple years ago. We started doing kind of a monthly recap show for things, just kind of talk about current events. And I'd like to kind of roll that into a new thing. And this would be something I would foresee myself taking the lead as a host for. And let's do a Grand Prix. And that would be to talk about current events. They add in some comedy to it, to add in trivia and that sort of thing. You can win prizes and that sort of thing like that, and kind of keep it that route. So we look at things, what's going on in Chief Delphi, what's going on in the FRC Reds, what's going on in the FRC Discord, and let's make talk about that, and then let's bring in a couple other elements that helps involve and engage the audience. So kind of like a radio show for something like that. So that's a potential option. Random. Nobody's voting for maps, so I'm just going to pick stuff. So that's 2. The other one is I'd like to bring back FRC Fight Night and repilot it. And if those who watched, FRC Fight Night was taking 2 fundamental things in first that are not necessarily opposites, but have 2 different ideas or thoughts, and then bringing on 2 people to essentially argue and debate about it. So a great example could be like, who's the best team of all time in FRC? Is it 254 or 71 or something like that? Or what was the best year of all time? Or like we did Houston versus Detroit. And I think there were some things that went well for that show. There are other things that I would have liked to see a lot more improvement on, and that it comes with time. But those are kind of the 3 new things that we're going to be trying out and piloting on Fun during the summer, because summer's our time to kind of do new stuff like that for live shows. So that's kind of the thought process for that. Guys, anything else to add in for that?
Those all sound great. I would be excited to be on those and to watch those.
Okay. I did see a question come in that I want to try to grab. Dead Boy, I like the first Steam games like Codenames, but I don't think that's very wide appeal. Yeah, we'll still do stuff like that on occasion. Like this, for example. I mean, we're going to see more of 50 concurrent and something like that. That's okay. I mean, we don't always need to have like the 100, 200, 300 concurrents for viewership. I'm okay with that, but we do need to have some home runs in there. Stuff like this or like Codenames is going to be more granular in who we target. It's going to be more of the true dedicated fans like you who are watching right now, both either live or archived for something like that. So we'll still do game nights and we'll still do things like that. And I think, bringing in the Rocket Leagues and the FRC FTC sim, that sort of thing like that, I think will go a long way in regards to helping out with something like that. If you have other things, you'd like to see as well too, like for, content or shows, let us know. These are things that we like to do more of. Randomizer says, I like the community engagement competitions, CAD competitions, FRCs, Rocket Leagues are pretty cool. Yeah, I agree. And we do have the F4 Catathon that we'll be hosting in, is that next week already, I think. So that's an option, that's something that's going on. We might be doing the PTC Robots to the Rescue. I think we might end up hosting that as well too. Once again, I think that's something cool for the community. But the F4 Catathon has definitely been really neat to do, and I'd love to see more of that. I know we've had a couple other people reach out to me in regards to Catathon type things, and yeah, we'd love to do more of that stuff as well. Connor, what day is the Catathon on? What day is the Agile Life broadcast? I don't have that in front of me. Connor can let me know. I expect a completed robot this time, Connor. But yeah, I mean, those are, once again, those are things that bring in, more community. It doesn't just make it about us. It makes it about you guys, right? And I think the more involved we can bring in you for, I just feel like my Marvel's going to get smashed here. The more we can bring in, you guys and things and do more that way, I think the better off we'll be, because once again, it involves more people. It's not just, the 4 of us or other people talking about things. It brings in and provides more of that community aspect. And I think that's something that in Fun generally, why we've been successful and why we've been able to scale at a level that is different than what others have been able to do, is because we do focus on you guys and we do try to make it very much so a community aspect that way. And we do also take it seriously. Like we really do. Like there are times, if we screw stuff up, call us out on it. We want to improve. We want to get better, and we do take it seriously, and we hope you do too. And that's, something as we look into this that, yes, it's called fun, right? We like to have a lot of fun with it. But on the other hand, we know that you're all passionate about stuff. So we really do want to make this about you. And we know how serious many of you are in this community. So we want to make it that way as well. Is it on Tuesday, Connor? All right. I'm glad you said that, because I don't want to make sure I don't overschedule the FTC sim on the same day. Man, I'm going to have 3 streams next week again. Oh.
No.
Come on, Mike. Cookie Hero has the record for this track and wins it. Saying Cookie Hero dominates.
Tower's ahead of the stream.
Yeah.
result.
You could view the go live that I have for you guys.
Yeah, if you play, Justin, if you hit the live on Tyler's thing in Discord, then you can click join stream.
Yeah.
Then you can't see the chat, depending on how many monitors you have.
I got 2 things up there.
A couple other things. The shallow dives that we're doing. Something that we did talk about with the FRC shallow dives and actually rolling in the FTC, and I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, is taking those and not worrying about the regions as much anymore. So if somebody from New York just wants to make it, we'll just create one and just more do of this kind of this 10-minute, 12-minute offline interview that way. And I think that's going to kind of be the future of those shallow dives, is that I'd like to make them mostly robot centric because that is what tends to bring in most viewership for things. But we can add in, things like, what are you doing for chairmans, or what awards do you focus on, and more of that full aspect of the team as well too. I think can go a long way of accomplishing that. And by having, creating these at about 10 minutes instead of like our average behind the bumpers is usually about 3 to 4 minutes, that now gives us more opportunities to dive a little bit deep. I was going to say deep dive. We can't say that, or that's not one of our shows, to talk a bit more about teams and accomplish more of that as well. It is already almost 30 after the second hour. So I've been ranting a lot. I've been talking a lot. So I appreciate you bearing with me on that. I really want to open up to Mike, Justin, and Christine. Are there things on your guys' mind that you want to bring up and talk about, or get the audience input on, or anything like that?
I always thought it'd be important and kind of interesting. It could be a summertime show, but like just kind of showcasing at least the FRC level, and maybe at some of the other levels too, like the amount of work that goes into putting on an event for in a regional.
Yeah, so like for a robotics competition sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think now that we're moving more towards like, or at least a lot of regions are moving to a district model, or we're really relying heavily on alumni and people that aren't competing to go and volunteer at local events, especially in Michigan. But I think it's important for people to kind of get base behind some of the people that put in the work to make that happen. I
love that.
I know for me, it was a huge eye opener when I was a judge assistant, like volunteering in college, because it really, like, I had to do a lot of prep work with the judge advisor, and then coordinate with the regional planning committee, and it really opened my eyes to like what a good job they do putting that black curtain up and not letting teams see behind it. But after going to the district model and becoming somebody that plans and runs events, like I try to be as transparent as possible, just so teams at least understand like we're doing the best we can. But I think it'd be really cool to hear about how that happens like in different regions, because it's obviously totally different for New England than it is for Israel, where a lot of their venues and stuff are like, schools are really outdoors there for a good chunk of it. But I don't know, I'd be curious to hear from some people in the community that probably have some really fun and like horrifying stories.
I really like the idea of kind of the how it's made sort of thing, right? And kind of unpeeling that curtain a bit more, and really going into like, these are the things that really do happen during this. And, if you want to, or if you want to become a volunteer for this role, this is what you have to do, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great idea, Christine. I love it. Justin, get a hold of your students here, man. Come on.
Seriously.
Justin's already muted, so he can start yelling at them. Come on, Justin, play Call of Duty, Justin. Come on. Oh, now I just recognize them, so now they're going to think I'm paying attention to them now.
Yeah, well, they gone.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, seriously though, chat, like, we are here to talk about, fun stuff right now. Go find your own platform to talk about the Call of Duty stuff if you're just going to be spamming that. Not cool.
So Randomizer in the chat says that we need more CHS representation on fun. And honestly, there's been areas in the past, like PNW was very underrepresented in a while. Some probably still say it still is, but I was honestly asking because I don't know who they are, but I was asking if they're a host, and they said no. But that's one way. We need your help. Like, we need it on you, on your team, on the teams in your area. Like, spread the word of fun, spread the word of region recap. And I think then that will have a trickle-down effect.
Well, and posting in Discord. I mean, we can't research everything, guys. It's just the honest truth. So if you have insight on stuff, tell us, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I do want to comment on that. I actually had some people from CHS region at championships last year approach me about being a host, and I put out the call, and none of them applied. So, and some of these people were complaining about CHS and not being representative, and I even PM'd a couple of them that it was open, and I think one of them applied and then didn't follow through. So I'll call you out, CHS. Follow through and actually get involved. There's no point in me talking about CHS, right? I don't know anything about CHS. We need you guys to do it. Yeah, I think there's an opportunity to get a little bit more granular too. I mean, the hard part is, I think if we were going to go more granular, that now would be the time to do it. You see,
What do you mean granular?
in regards to like right now we're split in North America is split into 7 geographic regions, right? So we have Northeast, Southeast, South, North, FIM, West, and Mexico. How the regions are split into, and I think you might see some realignment for that moving in the future. I think right now, you have MAR or FMA and Canada have done a couple live shows with things. And I think if you're going to do it, I think now's the best time to do something like that, when you're going to get people to tune in for that, when they really want that specifics on it. However, during the season, the difficult part is that there's only so much real estate we have in regards to like airtime and that sort of thing, right? And the other part is that if we do just like, if we only do, let's say we created a show just for CHS, I would be very bearish on how many views we'd actually get on something like that. Could we string it into a half-hour show or something like that, talking just about CHS? Chesapeake District is CHS. That's really what it comes down to, is that I know that some of you crave that. But if you look at where we were before, once again, when it was Mike and Justin or Mike and Justin and myself covering every single event, and now there's triple of the events of what it was back then. I mean, Mike and Justin, you think about when you guys were doing stuff back in like 2012, they're literally like quadruple the events now.
Oh, yeah.
That were then, right?
Back then, it was just on the surface of what we could without going like a million hours and doing a million hours of work. There's just so much, that could be said.
Yeah. I mean, and Holtzman's hit it. Like, dozens of people would tune in, and that's the thing. It's like, region recaps, we try to say we want to hit, 100 concurrent most of the time is kind of where we want to be for that, which typically means over a half-hour period, you can times that by about 3 of how many people actually tuned in. And that's kind of where our goal or metric is for that. And then offline and YouTube, we want to hit somewhere between 500 to 1,000 views in those. And even we missed a mark on that. So some of those areas, we're covering multiple regions, and we still don't hit the mark on it. So if we got even smaller, then, does that mean we split up even more? And same thing for FTC. As we start to do that more as well too, we split to, teams that were going to Detroit versus teams that are going to Houston. It's still difficult with so many events going on to get all the information we need for that stuff, especially in a short period of time. With FRC Region Recap, you think about it, events end on Saturday or Sunday, and we're doing a show on Monday. And so in order to get everything in time and do the write-ups in time, that sort of thing, well, all these people are either in college or have jobs or have lives outside of it or are on a team or something like that, is a very difficult process to do all that stuff for as we go through. Once again, I'm not saying we can't get better. We can definitely get better, and there are things we can definitely get better on. But just kind of explain where our process is for some of that. I mean, we know we can improve. There's never going to be a time where things are perfect, right? We're always going to be able to improve on things. But those who have been fans for a long time, it'll be either Fun or Mike and Justin in the Morning or FRC Top 25, back before Fun was established, know that where things were, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. I mean, it has tremendously evolved since then and will continue to get better. It just, it will take time to do that. And we just appreciate your feedback so we can try to absorb that and make it a little bit better. And then again, I don't know, original Mike and Justin in the Morning is pretty hard to beat, guys.
Ain't that the truth? Mike and Justin in the Morning. Starts at night, ends in the morning.
Yeah, with the Seinfeld clip at the end every time.
Absolutely.
But and something for those who don't know, Mike and Justin really deserve tons of the credit for this stuff because they were from the foundation is what I'm saying though, man. I mean, you guys were pioneers in when you started. I mean, there were a couple of EWCP tried doing something, RSN still does something a little bit, and I'm really not trying to rag on them or anything like that, but they don't do stuff consistently. So it's understandable on where they're at, and that's okay. That's what they want to do. And I totally get that. But Mike and Justin were really the foundation of creating this kind of the show where it really did involve the community. It had a little comedic aspect to it. It wasn't, it was serious, but not in, certain ways. Like the comedy of the show helped out a lot with that, where it was like, some things went wrong sometimes, or like there was a comedy of just when I'm trying to be modest for you guys. So
No, but I think it was
that was the best part.
Yeah, and it was that foundation back then where it was like by us for people like us.
Yes.
So, and that's kind of the same mentality.
Well said,
that we have
yes.
today too.
All right, so we're gonna go for about 15 more minutes, and then I think we're gonna wrap up. I know I said 9. I think we'll probably just end a few minutes before that. We'll do maybe one more Grand Prix as we go through. So get your marbles on the track, guys. And if you get any more comments, we'll take those as we go through. And we really appreciate. I mean, something I just have to say is how appreciative we are of you for tuning into our. I mean, it's pretty crazy that anybody wants to listen to what we had to say, right? And when I try to explain to people not in first of what I do or we do for these things, man, it's a weird experience with something like that. Oh, there we go. It's kind of like, trying to explain robotics to people, but now I'm trying to explain to people that I, create digital content online and have a niche following of, 150,000 people who watch content that I help create every single year. Like that's just strange, because it's like, you go to competition and, you have people have expectations of you, and you go and like I take selfies, I do autographs, I shake, well, probably not shaking hands too much anymore, but, things like that. And I love doing it. And I love meeting you guys, and I love talking to you guys and going that route. But then you get done and it's just like back to normal life, and like it's literally putting on a proverbial hat, right? And that's what a crazy experience it is, and what a humbling experience it is. And I can't thank all of you enough for helping us get to that success. You who once again are our core viewers, who are really, people who are our advocates for things. And that's, people always ask, we can rate Thino afterwards. People always ask, what can I do to help? And I will tell people a couple things. I mean, there are literally, if you want to help and you want to put in the time, I'll tell you, but I'll also be straight with you that most people, when I describe it in the time that we put into this, back off, because they realize that legitimately they have to do work. And most people don't understand the scope of what work like this is for things. And we get a lot of people who come to us with concepts and things. I'm like, great, let's make it happen. And then I don't hear from them again. But what you can really do, what everybody can do that takes virtually zero effort and helps us out, is literally just telling people about us. And, as many people as watch us now, there are so many more who still don't know about us and still know what's going on. Mike, I posted this in Cheat Delphi, but do you remember last year when the mom and the grandma came out to us in Houston?
Yeah, that was so funny.
Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
Oh, it was just like I don't know, after Thursday, maybe.
Yeah,
Thursday or
we were outside by like the right outside the main area.
Okay, pits are closed. Like, we don't have a team. We're just it was like, or maybe it was Friday because the party was going on or something.
Yeah, it might have been.
So we're just like standing on the street. All of a sudden, we're like, Tyler, like it was like these like. There was a mom and a grandma that like knew who we were because like they watch on their team or something. And it was awesome. It was great connecting with them.
Yeah. And like little things like that, where it's just, it's so cool to see just a diverse audience that we're starting to get. Our core audience is going to be people who are typically juniors and seniors, and in college is where the majority of our viewers do come from. But we're really starting to actually grow out. We kind of actually have this weird peak between 45 and 60 or something like that. We have a weird peak of viewership in now. As we go through, and it's quite interesting. But Dead Boy, I've asked a few times going forward, how do you see what percentage of vid streams will be split up with the different first programs? If you've asked this, I'm sorry if I haven't seen it, my bad. Right now, FRC, if you're talking FRC versus FTC, now apparently we do Lego League now too, I guess, but this really comes down to where the future of fun is for stuff. I do think there's a lot of growth opportunities in FTC. However, I will say that the culture of FTC is drastically different than what FRC is. And when I say that is that the sustainability for viewership in FTC does not have as high of a ceiling as FRC does. And the reason for that is that FTC almost kind of has, from what I've experienced, almost an anti-mentor mentality for things. You could say it's all about the student, but it doesn't even seem like it's that. It's almost like ooh, a mentor's bad. Like that's sort of like it's all about me. And I don't really like that too much personally, but from somebody who's been in the program for 20 years. But that also means, though, that, when they start hitting college and beyond, we might lose those people, right? We'll keep some of them, but I think we'll have more of a drop-off in FTC than we do FRC for things. So with that said, do I want to see more FTC content come out? Yes, but we need to optimize what we have now first. I don't want to just start throwing more and more content at things at this point. We create a crap ton of content already. What I want to see is us start to get better quality content coming in for things. And what I mean by that, I mean, obviously, the preparedness of our hosts and that sort of thing, but then also some of the visuals and just some of the concept of shows and what we go with on something like that as well, too. That to me is where I think the growth can be for something like that. Will we look at doing other programs at some point? Yes. But I'd rather continue to optimize what we're doing right now. You look at from a business model, if I only limit myself or fun to just first, that yes, there's good potential for things, especially if we do end up doing more with the Lego League at some point, which I think there is good potential for. Definitely not an area I'm an expert in, but we can find others who are. But are there other competitive robotics things that we could branch off into? Yes. I don't know if it necessarily be called fun, or I don't think, necessarily think it would be in the, we'd probably create new social media channels for it. But that's a potential as well. Exclamation play, by the way, if you want to get your marble on the track. In regards to the full scope of things, I would probably, here's what I want to see more out of FTC, more short form content, more behind the bots, more short form interviews for things. I think that will be key to getting more involved and engaged in FTC, and then optimizing our current shows we have right now. FTC Live needs to change a little bit, and it will, in regards to how that's going to be presented. And FRC Recap needs to be shored up a little bit in regards to some of the research that's done for it. FTC Top 25, I think, is starting to grow, which is nice, and it kind of goes that way. And once again, people either love or hate FRC Top 25, and all of us here don't really care either way. Like, we just want to get people involved and engaged, and want to get people talking about stuff. Like Christine, Mike, and Justin, do any of you care who takes number one in the FRC Top 25?
No,
not really.
I mean that's the thing. Like, what we care about is you care about if you're first, and I'm fine with that, but I'm not on a team. So for me, it doesn't matter to me as much for something like that, which kind of makes us allow us to just say, hey, let's just try to create something that goes. Justin, there's the haters, so
Popularity.
Yeah, whatever. So
I feel like the important part for me with top 25, or like what bothers me, is when we're constantly honest about, like, this team contacted us and even said they feel like they're too high, like, in the rankings the last few weeks or whatever. Like, I appreciate when a team is like, kind of gives us like an insider scoop, like in chat or something, and is like, yeah, it's cool that we're up this high, but we definitely didn't do our best or whatever. But I don't know. I think the coverage that top 25 gets, like, I always love hearing like Mike and Justin's like insight, because they have such a different take on everything, and like both of them do their homework so hard. I feel like such a peasant every time that I help out with top 25. I'm like,
Never, you do great.
it's Mike's text, but I always like kind of hearing their take on like the match play and like what they notice week to week with strategy and stuff. Like, honestly, the teams that are always in first, unless it's like week 1 or week 2 where we haven't seen anybody, it's just like the same kind of group of teams. And I don't know, I always enjoy like the bottom part of the top 25.
Yeah.
To be cute, because it changes.
No, exactly, and that's the area that we've seen grow the most since a few years ago, since we stopped taking, once you play, you're eligible for every single week. We've just been able to talk about so many new teams, and I think that's been a lot of the growth that we've seen with recognition of some teams in areas, is because we've made changes like that.
Yeah, totally agree with us. Well, to that, and that, I mean, you guys made that change even before Fun came along, right? I think that was like a year or two before that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
it's hard to remember.
Yeah, and honestly, the top 10 teams, like those, you just kind of know who they are. They're going to be amazing and fantastic and really dominant. It's really that 10 through 25 that we really get to see these teams and their creativity and all that kind of stuff. who's going to be good. You know who's going to be up there, but kind of those last other 15 spots are kind of usually what's up for grabs. So it's cool to kind of see who takes those.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, there's always going to be teams that are out of position both ways, right? And the thing I love though is that like people are like, oh, that's definitely wrong. Well, that's also your opinion as well too, right? Like nobody has the perfect answer for any of this stuff. I mean, even when Looking Forward was around and for those who don't know, Looking Forward was a group of people that I may or may not have been involved in for a little bit that provided insight on predictions and insights on top teams and stuff like that. And even that wasn't perfect. Even getting like these kind of experts in on things, that definitely wasn't either. Sorry, Christine, go ahead.
I think too. I don't know, it's okay. Kind of back to like my point of teams that will kind of admit like, yeah, we definitely should have been this high. I've always wanted to do a show or like watch a show more so than actually like do it. But where you get, kind of friendly feuds, or not even feuds, but like where you get kind of two sides of a moment or like a well-known situation and get kind of like an insider's take on how that went. Like something that for me it was always funny to like look at for like 2017 top 25 was like where 125 was versus like 195 that year, because we were just constantly like watching them and like we never really played against them until district champs, but we were always like evenly matched. And then it was like such a long season of being compared to them, and then once we like finally competed against them and then competed against them again at champs, like on our side, like knowing 195 and like having a lot of respect for them, it's probably a lot different to like hear the story from like say Brandon and then Damien, the drive at 195, versus like the people that were watching from the stands or whatever. So like for me, like I'd love to see like shows where you kind of get that behind the scenes view of like the relationship between teams, or like a MC that got to watch like field side something crazy happen.
I mean, it sounds like an awesome Roasting Robots topic, Christine.
True.
Like, I don't know, like I have my set of like people that I'd gladly pull on, but obviously
let's do it.
I'm in a very small niche of the FRC community, but
let's do it. Why not? I mean, I think that'd be a great thing to try out.
Yeah. I want to find who was on what field was it in 2017 that was next to mine that flooded? That was just like, it was raining.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember that, Mike? Just going down the field and watching that?
Oh, that was crazy.
I think I remember bouncing in the Frank Merritt and just being like, how's it going, Frank?
Yeah.
By the way, this is going to be our last thing of the night, by the way. We're going to wrap up after this.
It's like the best people to get on for that show would be like the volunteer coordinator for that field, like whoever, like the team that probably pointed it out, the poor volunteer that like had to deal with it.
Yeah. Daily, by the way, is what chat's saying.
Okay. Yeah, I was on Carson that year. Was that 2017 that it started leaking?
Yeah, it was 2017, I think. I miss St. Louis. I miss Atlanta even more, but I miss St. Louis.
Atlanta. Yeah.
I miss Epcot.
Yeah, I miss Epcot the most.
Yeah, Epcot was awesome.
Food selection.
Epcot was magical though, just because like you're a kid there, and like being a kid at Disney, it was freaking amazing.
We're like in Florida too. It's like happy and like safe.
And not cold as shit the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, Detroit's kind of cold sometimes.
The aquarium. They have for those who like need something to stare at on your computer, that's
Aquarium.
Small Hero 6 at 125 picking 1796, and we all went wild. Incredible. Yeah. Talk about the like best moment of our lives getting the lines that we did. But anyway, the Georgia Aquarium has their live stream of a ton of different exhibits on their website for those who ever got to go or didn't get to go.
That's cool.
Yeah, they have that right now.
Snowed in Ontario today. It's going to snow in Wisconsin tomorrow, I think. So.
Yesterday.
Tyler, it was a way long ago. Hey, it's Leo came in with another 10 tier 1 subs.
Holy crap.
That's great.
Hey, it's Leo. You are a crazy person. Just want to say that. But thank you so much, man.
Yes, thank you.
That is so cool. Like, That's something I love. That's why I don't want to lose with the live community. I mean, not that it's the money that's coming for it, but like that people are just like so willing to help each other out and talk this way and have that chat and have that interaction. Like to me, that's what I love about the live audience of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I also don't want to lose out on the subs too, but you know.
Well, again, that goes back to FRC Top 25 days. It's like we just love hanging out with like-minded people.
Yeah.
You know, it was just fun. That was more to it than the FRC Top 25. It was just being able to hang out on a weekly basis with other firsters and just talking robots. And that was always the bigger picture of FRC Top 25.
All right, I'm going to do a really quick race, and then we'll wrap up. If anybody has anything else, we'll pick a really short track here. I'll just kind of give it around the horn. Christine, anything you want to wrap up with?
I don't know. I think that we're all kind of forced into this like online community thing one way or another right now, whether it's for work or school or whatever. But I think the fact that this has always been a constant and it's continually growing is such a great thing. I know I've tried to use it more as a resource, as like a mentor for new students to be like, here, like go check out Fun, instead of being like, here, go check out Chief Delphi and like feel even more out of place in this new environment. Like I think sending people to like the Fun Discord or, you know, like any social media platform for them to just kind of check out content is super, super awesome, especially like the behind the bumpers and like shallow dives that are going on right now are going to be so great for, you know, students and people to just reference during, you know, the off season once they kind of get time to explore a little more. So I appreciate all the work that like everybody's been putting in and all the like contributions that, you know, our followers and stuff have been, you know, giving us for ideas or even just like support that they're providing. So, but I definitely want to hear more from the community about like the maybe not so technical things or even like technical things, but in a different way that we're not displaying them. But I also think that if we're like Tyler, I don't know what you're doing for off-season events, if there are going to be off-season events or whatever, but I think we on Fun need to do some sort of like social media web award in the first community.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Huge missing piece. Like I was talking to somebody about this the other day with how like they changed the entrepreneurship award, and I think they're moving in the right direction. Like first, that is at least for some of the stuff, because they're looking at it and starting to realize like maybe this like format, like the business plan before, like the entrepreneurship award, just sucked. Like it wasn't useful in any capacity. But like social media and marketing and, you know, quantitative marketing and all that stuff has become such a huge like real part of every sort of company and just every facet of, I don't know, pretty much anything, like education, engineering, like everybody needs to market themselves and collect data and understand like their
digital presence and all that.
Yeah.
And I'm like an expert at this, so if anything, like I think there should be a way for teams to like apply for some sort of like fun, like outstanding marketing.
Yeah, we could do that.
Fundy.
We could almost do like a seminar. We could do a bunch of seminars together too, right?
I do want to see some marketing social media seminars personally,
that would be cool.
Because I know my kids definitely need that for directional purposes. It's really interesting to see so many students that, you know, everybody's glued to their phones and engaging in social media, but start because there's such a high standard now with like all these like flashy like templates and shit and stuff, sorry, that people are using, and
that's
like all
already
these different like that like, you know, other people are doing. Like there's a lot, and if you don't know where to start, it's become one of those things where it's like, I'm just gonna avoid doing it. So I don't know.
Yeah, Mike, anything from you? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Christine, but the race is gonna end in just a little bit.
No, just that it's just, you know, it's just been great. This has just been, as I said earlier, just a really interesting time, and seeing how we've gotten through that, and just you know, a lot of the first community has stepped up and wanted to do things, and I'm glad that Fun has been able to be a part of a lot of those. And it's definitely be a year to remember, but it's just great to see just what we've been doing, you know, just through it all. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you not only for tuning in tonight, and I will I'll post this tonight as well too. So if you want to catch anything from it, but just thank you for being part of all this, and thank you for being advocates of fun and going out there. And we know a lot of you are bringing people in, and we really sincerely do appreciate that. We appreciate you being positive influences on the community, and appreciate the community that you've helped us build. And I think, it's so cool that once again we can bring so many people together like this. So just thank you. We create this content for you guys, and if nobody watched it, I don't know if we'd create it, right? So maybe, but it helps us, it motivates us, and inspires us to want to do more for this as well too. So please continue to provide your feedback for things, and please, Discord is always the best way for it. You can always email me. For those who have interacted with me, I'm a very open book on things. I'll also provide you open responses as well too, and honest responses. I really don't BS on that stuff. And so I might sound direct to you, but I truly do believe in as much transparency as we can for things, and providing content that is independent, and it is what we think, and provides that source for you. So thank you, everybody. We're gonna hop off for the night. Thank you, everybody, for especially Hey It's Leo for the amazing amount of subs that has been gifted, and Red Leader, I know, gifted a couple as well. And if I miss anybody else, thank you. I know I saw some bits come through as well too, like Top Spin with 100 bits right there. It really does mean a lot to us that people are willing to support us. And like I said, we are gonna have to bring on sponsors and that sort of thing, but your support is really the core of what keeps us going, and it is sincerely appreciated, and we still do need it. So thank you for all that as well. With that said, everybody, have a great night. We will have the FRC Sim tournament on, I believe, Saturday, but more to that coming on that soon. And then next week, FTC tournament, more shallow dives, fielder things coming up as well. So have a great night, everybody. Hope you're staying safe. Keep practicing your social distancing, and keep tuning in the fun so we can keep being an awesome community. Good night, everybody.